Margaret had always believed that raising her son, Daniel, would be the most rewarding and challenging role of her life. From the moment he was born, she had poured every ounce of her love and energy into shaping his world, ensuring he grew up with values, kindness, and strength. Now, as he turned 18, Margaret faced the bittersweet reality that her little boy was no longer a child, he was a young man on the verge of stepping into adulthood. Their small suburban home in Ohio was filled with memories, laughter echoing from the kitchen, late-night homework sessions at the dining table, and quiet evenings spent watching movies together. Yet, beneath the comfort of their shared history, Margaret felt a gnawing tension in her heart. She worried constantly about whether she had done enough to prepare him for the challenges ahead. The story truly began one crisp autumn morning. Margaret was sipping her coffee at the kitchen counter, the rising sun painting the curtains golden. Daniel walked in, his tall frame shadowing the doorway, his backpack slung carelessly over his shoulder. "Morning, Mom," he said, his voice deeper now, filled with the confidence of youth. "Morning, sweetheart," Margaret replied warmly, though she noticed the weariness in his eyes. "Late night studying again?" Daniel hesitated. "Yeah, something like that." She wanted to press further but held back. Margaret had learned that 18-year-olds needed space. But something about his expression, half troubled, half resigned, stayed with her. That evening, Margaret decided to check on him. She knocked gently on his door before entering. His room was scattered with open notebooks, half-finished essays, and a laptop glowing faintly. Daniel was sitting on the edge of his bed, staring into nothing. "What's wrong, honey?" she asked softly, sitting beside him. He sighed. "It's just, everything feels so heavy, Mom. College applications, part-time work, keeping up with grades. Sometimes I feel like I can't breathe." Margaret's heart ached. She reached over and took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Daniel, you don't have to carry all of this alone. I'm here for you. Always." That small moment was the beginning of something powerful. Margaret realized she had been so focused on providing on bills, meals, and responsibilities that she hadn't truly paused to be present with her son in his transition to adulthood. That night, she promised herself she would do everything possible to guide him, even if it meant facing uncomfortable truths together. Over the following weeks, Margaret noticed more signs of Daniel's struggle. He stayed up late, skipped meals, and grew increasingly withdrawn. The once lively boy who loved playing basketball in the driveway now seemed locked inside his own mind. One Sunday afternoon, she decided it was time for a serious talk. She invited Daniel to join her for a drive, something they hadn't done in years. The countryside rolled past them in warm hues of orange and red as autumn leaves fell around winding roads. "Daniel," she began gently, keeping her eyes on the road, "I know things are hard right now. But I want you to know, it's okay not to have everything figured out. You're 18. Life isn't a race." He was quiet at first, then whispered, "Sometimes I feel like I'm failing before I've even started." Margaret pulled over at a scenic overlook, the valley stretching wide below them. She turned to him, her eyes shining with sincerity. "Listen to me. You are not failing. You are learning, growing, becoming. Every mistake, every doubt, every tear, it's part of the journey. And I will stand by you no matter what." Daniel finally looked at her, his eyes glassy. "Do you really mean that?" "With all my heart," she said firmly. In that moment, Margaret saw the weight lift from his shoulders, even if only a little. She hugged him tightly, and he let himself collapse into her embrace, no longer pretending to be stronger than he felt. From that day, things began to shift. Margaret and Daniel started setting aside time each week to talk, not about chores or school deadlines, but about life, fears, and dreams. They shared long walks in the park, cooked dinners together, and even dusted off the old basketball hoop for evening games. Yet, as their bond deepened, Margaret faced her own private battle. She realized how much she had leaned on Daniel emotionally since his father left years ago. She often felt guilty, wondering if she had asked too much of him, if she had blurred the lines between being his mother and being his confidant. But she reminded herself, honesty, love, and respect were what truly mattered. One night, Daniel came into the kitchen while she was cooking. "Mom," he said hesitantly, "I need to tell you something. I don't think I want to go to college right away. Margaret froze. She had always imagined college as his next step. But she looked at him, at the earnestness in his face, and chose understanding over fear. Then don't, she said after a pause. If you need time to figure out what you want, take it. Life isn't about rushing to meet expectations. It's about finding what makes you come alive. Daniel blinked in surprise. You're not disappointed? Never, she said with conviction. I'm proud of you for being honest with yourself. That decision marked a turning point. Daniel decided to take a gap year, working part-time while exploring different passions. Margaret supported him wholeheartedly, even when neighbors whispered or relatives criticized. She stood firmly by his side, proving that love meant acceptance, not control. The months that followed were filled with growth. Daniel discovered a love for photography, spending hours capturing landscapes and candid moments. Margaret encouraged his creativity, even surprising him with a second-hand camera she had saved up for. The first time Daniel showed her his work, she was moved to tears. These are beautiful, Daniel. You have a gift. He smiled shyly. Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done this without you. By spring, Daniel's confidence had blossomed. He was no longer the anxious boy weighed down by expectations, but a young man discovering his own path. Margaret, too, had transformed. She realized that what she did to her son was not a burden or mistake, it was choosing to stand by him, to love him unconditionally, and to let go of her fears about what others thought. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Daniel turned to her and said, Mom, you've been my anchor through everything. I don't know where I'd be without you. Margaret smiled, her eyes misty. And I don't know where I'd be without you. You've taught me as much as I've taught you. Together, they understood that family wasn't about perfection. It was about resilience, forgiveness, and standing by one another through life's storms. There was no going back from the bond they had built. And truthfully, Margaret wouldn't have it any other way.